On today's show, it's draft day. What's the best, worst, and most likely case scenario for pick number 12?
You are Locked On Thunder, your daily Oklahoma City Thunder podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Let's get it going on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, media member and beat writer for SI Thunder, Rylan Styles. Follow me on Twitter at Rylan_Styles. Follow the show on Twitter at LO ThunderPod. On today's show, it's draft day. And draft day is brought to you by FanDuel. Check it out today because FanDuel is awesome. Make every moment more. With the playoffs winding down, sports aren't necessarily sporting the way we want them to, but this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost on a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long, when you go to FanDuel.com/lockedon to get started. It's draft day. And if you've listened to the show for a while, you know that before big events, before the draft, before the trade deadline, before the season, before the postseason, we do best, worst, and most likely case scenarios for the Thunder ahead of these big hallmark dates. This year, it's through a bit of adversity, the great power outage of 24. But you know what? That's not going to slow anything down because we're going to do this podcast. We have plenty of stuff up on SI Thunder to go check out at Sports Illustrated. It's a lot of fun covering the draft from that angle as well this year. And it'll be rolling here, right? So the draft's a two-day event now. So who knows what will happen tomorrow. But today in the first round, the Thunder control the 12th overall pick. We'll talk to Sam Presti tonight after whatever happens, and we'll recap it all on the show. We're also going to have some second-round steals on tomorrow's show that the Thunder should trade into the second round for as this draft. Despite not having, talent at the top in the sense of like market your franchise around, build them a statue outside the arena, it is deep with NBA caliber contributors to the better end of this draft and on through it. So it'll be a lot of fun. One thing to check out, if you know the show, if you know myself on Twitter, you know that we care a lot about juice. I've released the first ever all juice team, all three all juice teams on SI Thunder. You can go check out over there to see what prospects have the juice this year. Now, let's break it into best, worst, most likely. Let's start with the best case scenario. As the draft flips on today, what is the absolute best case scenario? This is going to take a while to describe because the draft has so many different branches and onions to peel back. The best case scenario, to boil it down to the prospect that walks across the stage at pick 12, who is the best possible outcome in that case? I think it would be Ron Holland. Like if Ron Holland or Cody Williams, one of those two guys actually does fall, which there's smoke screens, there are projections that have them falling. Now, again, you have to know it's smokescreen season. Not all this stuff is true. And in order for them to truly fall to 12, the amount of people who would need to leap into the top 10 just doesn't feel all that likely. It feels like we're just kind of getting close to the draft. We're getting tired of the same thing and we're overthinking things. Because Ron Holland and Cody Williams falling to the Thunder would be the best case scenario prospect-wise. For Ron Holland, you get this ultimate motor, most athletic player in the draft who has that dog in him that will be a ferocious defender, that can score at the rim, that is not afraid to take a shot even without shooting production. And oh yeah, Chip England needs another project to work on now that you've sent Josh Giddey to the Windy City. So Ron Holland, who I have number one on my board, who Derek Parker has number one on his board, and Jonathan Wasserman has number one on his board. Like everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people are big on Ron Holland to get that sort of value at 12. Whenever I know what you're saying, like you'll look at some places that list him as a guard and say, why on earth would they take another guard? The reality of the situation is, if the Thunder are relying on the number 12 pick in the 2024 NBA draft to swing their season next year, something's gone horribly wrong or something's gone horribly right. The most likely outcome is this pick will not have like a massive implication of or be the difference in what happens for this team. So, again, if they're relying on the 12th pick solely to fix their problems and to get them over the hump, that means that you've suffered some injuries and you've whittled down the line to the 12th overall pick. In a positive way, if that happens, it means that they are way better than expected and they've just taken a massive leap during this summer before their rookie year, and they are just like Cason Wallace, who people thought would be an instant contributor, but an 82 game, too good to play in the G League, too good to have that developmental reps, and instead was a key force in your rotation. That was something that no one knew at this time last year that would happen with Cason. So it'll be one of those two outcomes. I say this: the bottom line is you can afford to take someone like Ron Holland who needs some more nurturing, like Bub Carrington, who's a guy that's popularly mocked there, like Cody Williams, like that, someone that needs more nurturing. And then you have to also look at these prospects through the lens of what the Thunder are. With Cody Williams, with Ron Holland, first of all, some of the negative backlash on Cody Williams is from tape where he's just gutting through injury on a team that has other NBA guys, like KJ Simpson, Tristan Da Silva. Like, that is not, the sort of environment to be, casting everything about his NBA future on. And for Ron Holland, there was no structure with the Ignite. Zero. So walking into a much better environment is going to accentuate some of their skills. But those are the two best prospects. Now, there's another part of this, though. Because what happens on draft night? On draft night, massive trades go down. The league starts moving and shaking. And there's already been whispers. There's already been big moves. One of the big moves was that the New York Knicks have sent a bevy of picks to the Brooklyn Nets for Mikal Bridges. And in a subsequent move, they've swapped their picks back with Houston, and they've shuffled around picks with Houston to get their own picks back. And in that move, Woj tweeted and quickly walked back that the Rockets were going to be targeting Kevin Durant. And you couple those Kevin Durant to Rockets whispers that were quickly squashed with some other whispers that you've heard. And are we on the precipice of a massive, massive trade? A league-altering trade. Well, if there is such a avenue for a superstar to demand a trade during the draft or right before the draft, as it seems time for the yearly Kevin Durant trade demand, there's no team better positioned to go capitalize on that than Oklahoma City. So as you sit here twiddling your thumbs until the NBA draft, each buzz of your phone should make you jumpy at what Woj is tweeting, because we're getting closer and closer to star trade demand hours. And not to say that the Thunder would ever do something like that, but they certainly will explore everything, as they've openly admitted. So one of the best case scenarios could be like, goodness, if you can add Kevin Durant to this roster, that'd make the Thunder really good. Now, I don't think that'll happen, but you have to include it in one of the best case scenarios. Because oftentimes we see these trades, materialize on draft night. But going back to the prospects, Ron Holland is my number one prospect. I have Cody Williams in my top 5. I just think that Cody Williams is really good, and that he'll be someone that evaluators, at least publicly, because again, we don't know what the NBA thinks, but at least publicly, evaluators are will really kick themselves for missing on and for overthinking. Now, whenever you look at the most likely case scenario, those names shift. But before we go to the most likely case scenario, what's the worst case scenario in this draft? What is the outcome that would not be pleasing. We'll talk about that coming up. But first, I want to tell you right now about our good friends over at eBay Motors. Check out eBay Motors today because they know passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning a championship is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle, level up to peak performances, superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts to choose from, your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for with eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit. That part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back, because with eBay Motors, you're going to be burning rubber, not cash, with all the parts and the prices you want. Make sure that you get your car to be the MVP and bring home the huge win. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Motors Guaranteed Fit. Only available for U.S. customers. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Well, I think that whenever you look at the best case scenario, we mentioned Holland and Williams. With Cody Williams, this is a guy that I don't know that he can ever become like an on-ball scorer, but I really believe in his catch and shoot stuff. I really believe in his ability to finish at the rim, his ability to cut, his ability to play in transition, and I really think that as you get him into an NBA environment, you get him into an NBA staff with a healthy season, which cannot be discounted. You can see him add on to his frame and become a more versatile defender because he has the tools to do all this stuff. Like, he has all the tools. It's about putting it together. Well, that's the case for every prospect ever, but specifically in this draft. Like, find me the perfect prospect. And if you're banking on someone to put it all together, banking on someone who has that work ethic, I think is a solid bet. So what's the worst case scenario? Well, honestly, there's not that many. I can't sit up here and fake any outrage or act like any pick would just be disastrous. Because I just don't believe that at the end of the day, the 12th pick will cost you the chance to go far in the postseason. This is not the only chance to improve the roster for next year. It's the first chance. Like, you still have top 5 in the league cap space. You still have 4 open roster spots. You still have an abundance of draft picks for the future. Like, to get where you want to go, it's going to take proven NBA guys. That's what it's going to take. So if you pick up someone who can contribute right away at pick 12 in a down draft class, that's awesome. And all the credit in the world to Sam Presti. But you're not going to bank on tonight changing the franchise. You're not going to bank on tonight being the difference in getting past the Mavericks in the second round. Now, if that's what ends up happening, hats off. But it's not something that you can just count on. Draft your guy tonight. For example, draft your big man tonight and roll the balls out and play opening night, which is what a lot of you want them to do. Look, a lot of people will be upset if they don't take a big tonight. The reality is, the big you draft tonight, in all likelihood, will not solve every problem that you have. Like, it would be wiser to get a more NBA, experienced player in that spot. Now, let's talk about the worst case scenario. For me personally, the worst case scenario for me, I can only think of 2 guys that realistically could be selected here at 12, and I would not be able to talk myself into it. Number 1, Yves Missi, not because of Yves Missi. Like, Yves Missi is a member of the All Juice team. I really like Yves Missi as a prospect. But I think that while he does have exciting stuff off the catch, that goes away in the NBA until he learns how to shoot, which maybe he can. I mean, he didn't start playing until he was 16 years old. But again, I'm not going to bank on that. So, I think that the off the catch stuff is great. The way that he can put the ball on the ground and put the ball on the deck and go to the hole, that's great. But whenever you can't shoot and guys can just play off you, that's no longer a feat of yours. It's no longer a skill of yours. Number 2, this team, this Thunder team, for as versatile as they are, for everybody being a playmaker, for all this stuff, they don't have that excellent live dribble passer in the pick and roll to spoon feed him easy buckets. That's the difference in Dereck Lively's consistent offensive success. And then, Chet Holmgren has some scoring lows, is that, Lively is getting the benefit of Luka Doncic just force-feeding the ball, Kyrie Irving force-feeding him the ball in the pick and roll to get easy chances. And bending the defense with how they have to shade the screener and pay attention to the ball handler coming off that screen. And then right there, Lively now has the leverage, and you have a guard who can whip a pass in there or spin a bounce pass or lob it over the top. You have a passer who can make every pass in the world to that big man to take care of that leverage and take care of that step and get easy buckets. The Thunder do not have that luxury. And so whenever I'm looking at Yves Missi, I'm looking at a guy who has to have a guard be his best friend, who has to have a guard spoon feed him buckets. And while I hope that J-Dub and I hope that Shea can take a step in the right direction in pick and roll playmaking, and that's going to be what they have to work on this summer, I believe, I'm not drafting a guy at 12 who needs two other guys to get better for him to be maximized in Oklahoma City. Now, be clear when I say this, Yves Missi will have a productive NBA career. So long as he goes to a team with a guard, he will be awesome. Don't confuse being awesome in Detroit or Dallas or in other environments with being awesome in Oklahoma City. And vice versa. Some guys will be good in Oklahoma City that will not be good anywhere else. Or would be good few places other than Oklahoma City. It's about fit with Yves Missi. The other worst case scenario, would be Zach Edey for me personally as the way that I evaluate the draft and him as a prospect. To take Zach Edey at 12. To me, Zach Edey is a break glass in case of emergency guy. We can only play drop coverage. Want to impose some size. Very limiting offensively. He sets great screens. He rolls to the rim. That's it. Again, we have to play drop coverage. We can't switch everything the way the Thunder like to do. And I don't see being able to play him for more than a 10-minute, per game role. So this truly is just, hey, this is a guy that we can hit the red button on if we match up with a team that's too big for us. And yes, the Thunder need to address the ability to add a tool to their toolbox of another big, but it's about the cost benefit of you can get a big man to change a look and throw a curveball at other teams without utilizing the 12th overall pick on one. This archetype is a dime a dozen. Now, he did improve in his athletic testing and everything, but again, there's a difference in athletic testing, which is what people are really touting out right now. If you're in the Edey camp, the athletic testing is great. It's like a guy running a 40-yard dash in football without pads on. It doesn't really matter. We've seen it functionally, and functionally, Zach Edey cannot move and cannot play level with the ball. He cannot switch on screens. He's got to play drop coverage. It makes you one-dimensional when he's on the floor. And if there's anything about Mark and this Thunder team, they don't want to be one-dimensional. So then that's going to lead to, not playing him a ton, which at that point I would say, does that just make you feel better? Because they had Bismack Biyombo sitting there not playing, and it didn't make you feel better. It's tough to envision Edey on this team getting heavy minutes. By the same token, I'll warn you now, if that's the pick at 12, the only selling point would be, well, Sam's talked about the need to pivot, and they're not afraid to pivot, so maybe they'd be taking a pivot, because this would certainly be one. And I just don't think it's there yet, for the team to pivot in this dramatic of a direction. I think that there's a useful role for Edey. I think as you creep into the 22, 24, 25 and below range, that's prime Edey time. I mean, look, Boban, the Boban comparison is not a disrespectful one. Boban started playoff games, and he helped change some series and change some segment of games for the Dallas Mavericks, which was later in his career. That's what you're getting. I don't even think that you're truly getting Steven Adams, who's like the new big comp for him. But I mean, if Steven Adams is the highest outcome, it becomes interesting. But for this team, I don't buy it. I think that, again, they're resource 2 at 12. All the factors you can do with pick number 12 and the swings you can take and everything else to take it on a guy that I can't see getting more than 10 minutes per game. I wouldn't be a fan, and I'd be open to admitting that I'd be wrong. I've been wrong many times before. I was wrong about Darius Bazley. I thought he was going to be a really, really, really good player for Oklahoma City. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But coming up, what's the most likely case scenario for the Thunder and your questions? But first, I want to say right now, but our good friends over at FanDuel, check out FanDuel right now because we all love sports, but sports aren't sportsing the way we want them to. But right now with FanDuel, you can keep the sports going wherever you are. If you want to go open the app and dream it up, you can, because right now FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost and a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com/lockedon and start making the most of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports book and the official sports partner of Major League Baseball. Go there right now to FanDuel.com. And whenever you do, if you're saying to yourself, I only really like the NBA, there's something at the NBA for you, like NBA Finals odds, where the Thunder have leaped up to number 3. Now, why would they take a jump from 5 to 3 nearly overnight? I wonder what Vegas thinks is happening. You can check it out today at FanDuel.com. We're back on the Locked On Thunder podcast, on the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thank you so much for making us your first listen every single morning, every single day. We're here for you, talking Thunder basketball. Here we go. The most likely case scenario for the Thunder this draft is, I think DaRon Holmes is really likely. I think that it'd be DaRon Holmes, Jared McCain, or Bub Carrington. And let's break down all 3 guys. DaRon Holmes, perfect modern day big man, perfect fit for what the Thunder want to do. You kind of maximize your front court depth of having to be able to throw out Chet and Holmes and Jay Will. And now it makes Jay Will better in a more limited role. It makes Chet better because he has a better guy spelling him. Like, they can play together some, like Chet and DaRon Holmes can play together. And in the future, might be playing together permanently, like if Holmes develops at the clip that you think he could. So, like, this would be a perfect player who can finish at the rim, who can play make in the short roll, who can dominate in transition, who shoots 38% from 3. I really, really, really like DaRon Holmes. As far as Jared McCain, I think Jared McCain addresses the biggest need for the Thunder. The biggest need is not front court depth. It's not a big man. It's not whatever. The biggest need for the Thunder is they need another table setter who can score. And Jared McCain gives you the best of both worlds. When you look at Jared McCain, when you play him with Jada and Shea, he is excellent as a movement shooter, and he's excellent as a safety net for them, driving and kicking. So he can really fit that style of the drive and kick, knock down threes, right? When you play him with the secondary unit, and your team needs more direction, needs more offensive punch, he can set the table, play make, lead the charge, orchestrate the offense, and score off the dribble. And really carry your secondary unit scoring. That's the best of both worlds of what the Thunder need, and it's nearly the perfect fit for Oklahoma City. Now, here's the kicker. While he tries hard defensively, while he has a massive motor, while he's able to play off-ball defense very well, he's not a good defender. He's not a good POA defender. You would not want him switched on to mismatches. That's the beauty of the Thunder building a roster this way. The Thunder have built a roster in such a way that they can more easily hide inefficient defender than almost anyone in the NBA and almost anyone ever constructed, because they've built a top defense in the NBA that's based on guys who fight over screens for a living. And guys who fight over screens in January, in October, in April, and they'll do it in May. They'll do it in June once they get there. Like, this defense does not wait for the biggest moments to play their best defense. This defense brings that mentality of not letting you switch onto a mismatch every single time. So you can hide Jared McCain's defense, and you can get the offensive punch that he delivers. So that's very exciting. And then Bub Carrington. So Bub Carrington's been the newest darling of Thunder mock drafts. The selling point for Bub Carrington is that, going back to the start of the show, you don't need the 12th overall pick. Bub Carrington is extremely young, and the fully developed and maximized version of Bub Carrington is this prolific on-ball scorer who is just a microwave spark plug off the bench. And it's pretty much, I mean, again, NBA comps are stupid and dumb, and I'm not very good at them. No one is. Just think of the archetype of like what you envision the role of Trey Mann to be only actually happening. That would be like what you would hope could develop from Bub Carrington. And perhaps it never materializes. But the Thunder have the luxury of being able to take a shot. And I'm not calling Bub Trey Mann. I'm just saying like the role of, hey, you come in with the secondary group, and it's your show. You score, and help us extend this lead or help us get back in this game, whatever the case is on that given time. I think that he spent a lot of time with the Blue to begin with, and really developed to the pace of the game and really developed defensively, and refined himself offensively and learned to make good decisions and better decisions because, I think that the passing ability is there. I think that sometimes the decision making can get a little erratic, but that's common with the young guards. So I would like all three of the realistic picks. Really, the only picks I'd really be head scratched about would be Edey and Missi, because even like Furphy, who's very tied to the Thunder, and I think that to do the Furphy thing, you'd be getting back to those Knicks picks at that 24, 25. The Furphy thing, I think he can help you. And he can help you in a serious way. Jonathan Mogbo is really tied to the Thunder. I think that he'd be I think he's going to be a really good player, like really, really good. So I would love Jonathan Mogbo. We'll talk more about the second round guys tomorrow in a bonus podcast. Of course, initially tomorrow, you're going to get the recap of the first round. What do you think is going to happen in the first round? Let us know down below on Locked On Thunder. We are going to have your mailbag questions on tomorrow's show, but the second round, because we went a little bit long breaking this all down. But tomorrow's show about the second round will be best second round targets to jump up and leap up into, and your mailbag questions. But initially tomorrow, so you're going to get 2 pods tomorrow. Initially tomorrow, we're breaking down the entire first round. What the Thunder did, what other teams did, the ripple effects from it. And then around lunchtime, you're going to get who the Thunder should go trade for in the second round, who the Thunder should go get. If they decide to jump back into the second round. Plus, we're going to answer your mailbag questions, and then we'll recap the second round, recap the draft, and get ready for the offseason, for free agency, for the rookie introductory press conference, and for all that jazz. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for joining us, for listening to today's show. And until tomorrow, be good and be good to one